Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Alaska Civics channel, where we take big, complicated issues that shape everyday life in our state and we break them down in a way that's human, clear, and rooted in real experience. My name is Shavon Shigog. I am the program director for the Alaska Civics Academy. Typically, I have Erin Jackson Hill with me, who is the director of our organization, but she is not here today, so I'm doing this solo dolo. Um, as you know, we've been moving through our housing series, or you may not know, depending on where you're at in our video series, but we're moving through housing in Alaska, and I've been really excited to cover today's topic. Our first foray into this was a deep dive into the Alaska housing crisis and what's at stake for all Alaskans if we don't take action pretty quickly. And today we're talking about something that touches more Alaskans than a lot of people realize, and that's housing insecurity and houselessness or homelessness, which is the less kind way of saying that. Um, I think it's important to know that behind the scenes in statistics and headlines, there are real people who have a lot at stake. These are our neighbors, our coworkers, our family members, our friends who are navigating systems that are often confusing, incredibly under resourced, and rife with inequity. And the truth is, most of us are a lot closer to housing instability than we realize. We are a breakup, a paycheck, an illness away from serious insecurity. And, one missed paycheck can change everything really quickly. And I think it's important that we thought it was important that we have someone on here who could speak to that from a personal experience. So today, instead of starting with data or policy, we're going to talk to a real person. We're joined by someone who's lived through housing security in Alaska and is willing to share their experience. And I'm so grateful for it. And this is not for them to be defined. This is not something that defines them. And this is to us to help, this is to help us understand what the reality actually feels like, what the system looks like from the inside, and what real solutions require. And our goal isn't to sensationalize or pity. Our goal is understanding and connection. And our goal is to learn from someone who knows the issue, not from the outside looking in, but from lived experience. So as we get started, I would invite you to listen with curiosity, openness, compassion, and empathy. And let's talk about housing in Alaska and not as an abstract policy, but as a human story. So having said that, I would like to introduce Nika Wolf. Hi, Nika.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. I cannot imagine um, what this topic is like for you to discuss. And whether it's good, bad, or indifference, I just want to say thank you so much for trusting us with your story and sharing with us. I can't imagine your experience was particularly easy or something that you look back on with like fond memories. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. Before we get started, if it's okay with you, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. As always, we do land acknowledgements to show our appreciation for those who came before and continue to take care of the Alaska that we know and love today. So please allow me to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina, namely the Dena'ina, Ithnana, Tanana, and the Lutik peoples who have stewarded this land for thousands of years, long before Anchorage was called by that name, and they continue to live, lead, and grow in this place today. And thank you to them for their sacrifice and all they do to make Alaska the beautiful place that it is and some place that we all love to live. So thank you. So let's start off with who are you? Tell us your story and what are your pronouns?
Um, well, I'll start off with my pronouns are she, they, because I think that's an easier answer. Uh, who am I? I am freelance videographer and editor. I edit these videos. I run Termination Dust Press, which has been on hiatus for a while, but I've been cooking up a new documentary format project, which I've been filming for about 5 days now. Um, which is related to this same topic, actually. Um, it's about the current housing response here in Anchorage with regards to
Mm.
this specific winter and the weather and the significant differences in sheltering options that are being provided this year versus previous years. Um, but my whole story, I don't even know how to condense it down very well, honestly. Um,
We'll get into
yeah,
it.
we'll
We'll
get
get
into
into
it.
yeah.
Long story
So what's
short, I
something?
made things
Oh,
go south. I was doing some advanced work. I was a research assistant, basically lab tech. Messed things up and ended up housing insecure and legally homeless for 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Oof. Okay. Oh, we are gonna get into that for sure.
Mhm.
So what's something about Alaska that you really love or feel connected to?
Oh goodness. There's a million things that I love about it. Of course, like there's all the stereotypical things. Like I love how it looks. It's a very pretty place. It's a very peaceful place, even if it wants to kill you. But
That is
and
valid.
but what I think I like about it the most is genuinely the people here. There's a
Mhm.
lot more human connection, and there's a lot more acceptance for people who are weird. I'm a weird person. I'm a ex-lab tech videographer, queer person. It's got all kinds of weird interests, and I can find people that I like to be around, and people that would otherwise usually hate me in most places here will still at least like dig my car out of the snow or something. You know, it's like
You-
people tend to try outside of this issue, right? It's weird. Outside of this issue, usually people will stop other people from dying here. Um,
That is so interesting you say that. My grandma, two things. My grandma used to say Alaska where the odds are good and the goods are odd. And one of the things I love telling people about Alaska is you could hate my guts. Like you could think I'm the worst person in the world, but if my car went off the road into a ditch, you would use your truck to get me out. And
yeah,
you probably wouldn't speak to me aside from move. Are
yeah,
you okay? Whatever. But you're still going to use your truck to pull my, you're going to get, what is that, the winch? You're going to use the winch to get, and then you will drive off.
yeah.
Like, all right, fine, good, you're alive. And you will drive off, and that's it. But we're not going to leave you stranded. I love that about Alaska.
I was just
Um,
telling it to a friend of mine who had never been like outside of the Anchorage Bowl before, that it's
mhm.
like, yeah, things are a lot different here culturally, and it's not in the way that you'd expect going into a rural place. In fact, you're going to probably find that people are going to be a little bit nicer in some ways because if something
We're so
happens,
weird.
yeah, yeah. And then we got stuck about an hour later, and immediately one of the neighbors, materialized with the truck and a shovel, and we got unstuck
Hmm.
and continued.
Hmm.
So,
Yep. We will shovel your driveway and cuss you out
yeah.
at the same time. Like it's we're so weird. We're so weird. I love it. And okay, this is kind of a weird question, but if your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. This one was kind of chosen for me. We'll get into this whole story, but I had a car accident. Car accident resulted in me doing a bunch of time, and once I got out, I was discharged at midnight, and so here I am, free again, able to live and exist as an adult for the first time in years. And I come out to the first gas station I'm going to do because I want to go buy a soda because I haven't had a soda and I didn't know how long. So I walk into a gas station and Ain't No Rest for the Wicked by Cage the Elephant is playing
Shut
as
up.
the first song I
Money
heard
don't
as
grow
a
on
free person.
trees.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, damn. I guess it's been chosen here.
Wow.
But
That
I've got this like profound sense of freedom is associated with that song.
I get it. Oh, I swear to God, you have just changed that song for me forever. Every time I hear that song now, I'm gonna think of you. And that's a song that gets pretty heavy rotation on my workout playlist.
Oh, nice.
Oh. Can you tell us a little bit about your life journey? Like, what were things like before housing became difficult?
I mean, I was on a fast track to U.S. particle accelerator school at that time in my life before things kind of violently spiraled. I was a laboratory technician with JP Accelerator Works. We worked on linear particle accelerators down in New Mexico. So we subcontracted out to like Los Alamos National Laboratory, Sandia, CERN, you've heard of through like the Large Hadron Collider out in Switzerland, like all those. I've built parts that have gone in most of those facilities. Yeah, it was crazy. I look back at it, like I can't even wrap my head around how good that was. Um, and then very rapidly, life happened.
Life is life's. Like
Yeah.
when people say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the phone call," or whatever. Life is life, and it happens.
Mm.
Um, when you look back, like you said before, like I can't even believe that was from what I got from that was I can't even believe that was my life. Like that's it's you're so far removed from that. But
Yeah.
when you look back. What were the early signs or moments that things started to feel a little unstable? Like things are shifting.
Mm. Well, I mean, honestly, like it's gonna be tied all around that car accident that happened, but mostly it was like I was, just barely an adult living out on my own, and I had to deal with a friend getting glioblastoma, my best friend, and that's an incurable brain cancer.
Yep.
It is incredibly violent and incredibly rapid. It was 8 months diagnosis to death with all treatment options pursued. And
Mhm.
I didn't know how to handle something like that at that time, so I started acting really stupid. I was just trying to get away from thinking about that and engaging with that reality as much as possible. And so risky behaviors happened, and
Mhm.
it started with smaller things like, oh, I'm just going to do solo hiking. And then it went from solo hiking to I'm going into abandoned mines and solo hiking. And then I'm going on, 1,000-mile drives out of nowhere and going on abandoned mines and solo hiking and
Abandoned
freehand rock
mines.
climbing. And yeah, I did a lot of none of it was good behavior. None of it was good behavior. It's just that what caught up to me was me wrecking my car. Um, yeah.
Please know that this was not judgment. This was like terror because I'm
Yeah.
I'm definitely afraid of the dark and spiders, and I know that
Oh,
mines have both of those things.
oh
So
yes.
it's,
To be
this is
fair,
not
I've
a
not run
judgment.
into spiders into mine before, but I did used to do volunteer caving as well, so I was already kind of used to being underground. So I'd go in with like exploration groups and restoration crews, and we'd go in and clean up formations deep in wild caves to preserve them because they'd been like contaminated with like boot prints and stuff. So we'd be carrying in supplies and stuff. I did a bunch of stuff underground.
I sleep with a nightlight.
I'm also uncomfortable in the dark. In the cave I had a lot of lights and backup lights and backup batteries.
Again, not judgment. This is like, how brave are you? Because I'm not that person.
I don't even
So
think
when
it's
you
a bravery thing. I think that all cavers have something that's just a little off. Where it just doesn't scare us because it just doesn't. There's just no fear response whatsoever there. It's just there's only one person on the cruise that I went with who I thought was genuinely really brave, and that was we had a speleoarchaeologist who was studying the Mescalero Apache and their history with a specific cave, and she was incredibly claustrophobic, and that did not stop her. So she was like at her limit for stress the whole time, but she's still only like a mile and a half in.
I'm so sorry I glitched. I 100% glitched because you said mile and a half, and absolutely not. I want to get us back on track because I will
Yeah.
spiral if I don't. So when you think about the time before you experienced housing insecurity, what do you wish people knew leading up to it? There's a lot of misconceptions, obviously,
hmm
about what it is to be insecure in terms of housing or houselessness. What do you wish people knew?
Um, like in my case, it's kind of almost stereotypical because I can point and say I did something that led me to insecurity. In many
Mm,
ways. Of course, there's some huge systemic factors which we'll hop into as well. But I guess the thing is that it happened instantaneously. Um, that it's like there's very small things are a little bit uneven. I'm not well, I'm not doing well, but it went from I have a job, I have a future, I have a place to live to none of those three things within a week. Um, and in reality, it happened within, hours.
really? Okay.
Yeah. Um, so, very quickly you can suddenly be going from where you thought you were to nothing at all and losing everything that you own and all of that can just very quickly happen. And it can be something as stupid as me like driving recklessly on a country road, or it can be something as simple as you picked up your phone while you were driving, could still result in the same kind of stuff that happened to me because all you need is a couple of seconds of distraction and something horrible can happen. Um, so if the stars aren't aligned, if your luck is not that good that day, then small mistakes that you usually make can suddenly cost a life. And then it will also rip apart yours.
I really appreciate you saying that. I can't tell you how often, like if I'm driving and I sneeze, that freaks me out so bad because you can't sneeze with your eyes open. And I
hmm
think about that like when I'm driving down a residential, right? Like little kids, cheetahs, cheetah speed. I
Yeah.
have seen little kids dart like chasing a ball, and if I sneeze at just the wrong moment, or if I glance at my phone, or if I try to change the podcast, like that is, I really appreciate you saying that because I think the misconception is one of many is that that can't happen to me. That's them. That's their story. Like you hear
Yeah.
about somebody with an inoperable brain tumor, like, oh, that's so sad that happened to them. But we're all one sneeze away from a
Hmm.
diagnosis that changes everything. We are one disrupted sleep pattern away from a diagnosis that changes everything. So I appreciate you saying that. In your own lived experience, when you're thinking about the term, housing insecurity, what does that mean to you in your own lived experience?
I've known so many people who've gone through all levels of homelessness, myself included. Um, so it can mean so many different things. It can be something as simple as like your budget is so tight that, you are one thing away, right? If you were like $10, $50 away from losing it, that's housing insecurity. Because you're probably going to have your car break down or something's going to happen at that point, right? It's like if you don't have enough of a cushion, it's an inevitability. Um, Unfortunately, unless you're very lucky and you can build that cushion up or get solutions, or more realistically, you're not going to do it. You're going to have help. Uh,
Mm.
you usually aren't going to pull yourself out of it. You're going to have some help because it gets worse the more you don't. But I'm tangenting again. Um,
When you hear that term housing insecurity, what's the image that pops up in your head?
it's not even an image that pops up in my head. It's like a pit in my stomach kind of thing.
Ah,
It's a
okay.
stress. It's a constant worrying thing. I can't think more than a week ahead because maybe in a week I'm going to not have a place, or I'm going to, be sleeping over here, or I have to throw everything away here. It's this
So it's a
inability to,
physical,
yeah, it's a physical
physiological
stress.
reaction.
Yeah.
Ooh, like palm sweaty,
Hmm.
stomach hurts.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. All right. And then my next question is thinking back on that time, we've talked about the misconceptions people have leading up to it, but what are the misconceptions that people have when you're actually in it? What are the things that
Oh, there's so
people
many.
that you think, okay.
Most people will like automatically assume that you're not working or not working enough. Um,
Mm,
like I was for the different times during it, I was working as a welder, I was working in a fish plant, I was working in a lumber yard. I have done everything from car washing to line cooking. And at no point was that sufficient to achieve stability. Um,
mm.
that's just how it is. So, you're probably working your ass off. You're probably busier than the average person is by a huge amount because you have to deal with the logistics that come with being incredibly poor. So you can't drive, you're taking buses, you're walking, you're biking. You can get 1 to 2 errands done per day if you have a couch to crash on. If you don't, then you basically have to spend the entire day trying to just get food and find a place to sleep. Um, you know, you're just so freaking busy. People think that when you're in that position, suddenly, you just need to make better decisions and magically it'll change something for you. But you kind of just need a hand. You just need a hand at that
Okay,
point
so
because you're basically flailing in the water, right? You're like in a storm in the ocean and you're in the water. You're going to work your butt off to keep your head up, but you're not really just going to, magically climb aboard a vessel. You're going to need someone to throw you a rope, you know?
have you have you seen that meme where like someone's drowning and their hand is like
High
above the water
five.
and someone high
Yeah.
fives them? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing great. So so if I'm hearing you
Keep
right,
up that grind.
look at you trying. You can't budget your way out of poverty. Like it's not a thing.
Yeah,
So
when your income isn't sufficient to eat as much as you're supposed to, you're not going to be able to cut the budget anymore. You can't be any more austere about anything. You're already below your basic needs.
I don't know, Nika, maybe if you hadn't eaten so much avocado toast,
I know, right? All those fancy
coffees,
coffees. Yeah.
those lattes. So when you think about this time, what surprised you most about it? Like practically, socially, emotionally, what were the things that you did not expect?
I guess like you have a lot of friends and a lot of people that are close to you, and that when the pedal hits the metal, when suddenly it's hit the fan, you don't have a spot to go to. Um, no one's gonna offer you one probably. You might think that someone would not let you freeze or let you go hungry, but a lot of people would. Uh, They don't want to deal with that much commitment of helping someone like that a lot of the time. And so you'll
Hmm.
find very quickly, like, does this person actually care if I'm alive or not?
Okay.
Real fast,
What
real hard.
parts
And it's a lot less people than you would think.
what parts felt supportive, if any?
The reason that I'm still here, because I was able to find some people
Okay.
that um like friends, network, people that I care about. There were enough of them in my case that I was
Hmm.
able to pull myself through long enough to get my name on a lease. Um, Even if it took an incredibly long time.
And this is best case scenario,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't, you're not one of the lucky ones, but this seems, from what
Oh
you're
no, I would
telling me,
consider
it's
myself one of the lucky ones. I've
good.
met people who have tried harder than me and ended up to freeze. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
What's
This
something,
tiny little apartment here in Fairview, woo, is what the best outcome looks like.
okay. I love Fairview. Wow. You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Shout out to, shout out
Yeah, the street that
to,
I live on.
how are you on?
Yeah.
Get out of here. If you know, you know. Come on, Alaska. Come on, Alaska. So what stays with you? Like in the quiet, when you're reflecting back on your time in your life, what's something that stays with you from that time period?
Mm. Honestly, it's so recent still because I mean I've only had been on this lease for like 7 or 8 months now. Um, and it feels like yesterday. It's something that I'm still working on too, is figuring out like, okay, I can start planning things again because I kind of get stuck in the mindset of, like I said, you don't think more than a week ahead because you don't know what's happening in a week. So if you plan too much, you're just gonna go nuts. Um, so it's sitting down and be like, what are my long-term plans? Like what am I going to do now? Because that was not something that you can do. There's nah. When things become unstable past a certain point, you can't think ahead because too much changes every day.
There's this movie called Side Effects, and one of the things Jude Law is in this movie, and he plays a psychologist or a therapist of some sort. And he says in there, depression is the inability to see a future. And what you're saying reminds me a lot of that statement because you're talking about how it's difficult, it's impossible to plan when you don't know what's coming. Would you say that's accurate or
Oh, I'd say that's accurate. Yeah, I mean, depression's involved here too. So,
yeah.
but
If
no, I would agree.
if people could take away one thing from the reality of experiencing housing insecurity, like what would it be like? Would it be the fatigue, like the constant mental load, the lack of reliable transportation, the stigma, logistics, how am I going to get from here to there? Constant problems. Like what
Well,
is
I
it the
mean,
mental like what's the thing?
so many of these things are connected to each other. I mean, like just a
Mhm.
visit to the store could be a great example of what that's like because you're gonna leave where you are and this is Alaska, so let's say it's the winter time, so it's like 5 degrees. We'll say in Anchorage. You get up, you're bundled up, you've got your backpack. It takes you an hour and a half to get to where the store is, because of either bus delays, the walking time, you're walking in traffic probably because the sidewalks aren't plowed. Um,
There is
you
that.
get to the store and an armed security guard tells you to piss off because you've got a backpack on. And so now you just don't get to go get food today. So you can go home, which takes another hour and a half, drop the backpack off, and then it's too late. So you wait for the next day, and then you spend another hour and a half getting there without a backpack, and you can get one bag of things, and then bus all the way back. And congratulations, it has taken you 2 days and like 8 hours to get a single bag of food. Um, and that's an example when you still have a spot that you are staying at that you can reliably be at least for the, immediate term. Um, that
And leave your backpack
yeah, you
with all
can't,
your stuff in it.
yeah, wherever that will may be.
Right.
Because at this point, most places have banned being able to have a bag, and they don't have lockers. If they have lockers, they're tiny, and you're not going to put all your stuff in an unlocked, cubby or something. You're not going to leave it on the ground. Um,
Hmm.
so, and like even while I was, without a, okay, I guess unhoused. I mean, not unhoused. I was in a house. You know what I mean? housing
Hmm.
insecurity is the way to put it. Um, like I still was doing my work as after I had gotten injured enough from like I've got like bad carpal tunnel and then I've also got cubital tunnel in both. So that kind of limited work options. And I, after getting fired from the fish plant because the fish plant broke down, when I really moved to trying to do more of the photo video work. And so I still had a camera, but I can't leave that camera anywhere. It's
Hmm.
my entire livelihood is one piece of
Yeah.
equipment. And so, it's like people ask, "Oh, hey, can I hold your bag for you?" Then we'll hold on to it. And I'm like, "Can I have your car keys while you hold my bag?" Then like,
Uh,
it's like, What's up, man?" Like, I oh, what, you don't want to give your car keys to a stranger? Cool, then we're on the same page.
Jeez Louise. When you look at your experience in Alaska specifically, what's like the biggest barrier to getting stable? Like what was the most difficult part of you accessing the stability that you have now?
Um, it's hard to boil down to one thing.
Give me a couple.
Um, I guess like there's of course like limitations for getting a lease to begin with. The only way I could get on one is because I have a roommate, and that means that it's not just me that's on it because of the fact that I had that wreck. It makes it difficult for me to find anywhere that'll take me, and of the places that will take me, then they have income requirements that are above what I have because right now most
Mhm.
places are like, oh, we want you to be making two or three times the rent, and then the low bottom end of rent is like 1,100, 1,200, and that's for the cheapest possible places. And so then they're expecting me to be making what I would consider pretty good money. Somehow, like, how am I going to have this good job when
Yeah.
um, it's kind of just, it's the whole thing is like a house of cards, right? Everything is dependent on you already being stable. To get stable, you have to be stable. It's really silly that way, right? It's one of
Yeah.
those things where like all of the jobs have a requirement of having worked the job for 10 years kind of thing. It's like, how do you get experience if you need 10 years experience for the starting
Yep.
position? And that's how it all is.
So it's not the barrier is the lack of stability because the
Yeah,
stability is the foundation for everything else.
yeah.
So what's another thing that people kind of think is like, oh, if you just do this, you'll be fine, like an easy fix. Well, if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which
I love that
that
phrase. It's so funny to me. Just given it.
man, people don't understand where that comes from.
Yeah, that it means something that's impossible.
Yeah, it's hard to pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you don't have boots to begin with, and you don't have access to get boots or money to get boots,
And
right?
even if you get those boots, then congratulations, you're trying to pull yourself up by your own feet.
Oh, yeah. When you tie up your winter boots and you do that, like, what am I doing here? How
I don't think
I
physics
die, I
allows that
die.
one.
This does not make sense. So, like, what's another thing that people think is, oh, if you just do this, you'll be fine.
Um, I guess especially for people who've got a record, people just magically think that I guess they'll like throw lots of news articles at you about success stories because the news loves success stories. The thing is
Oh,
that if these success stories were normal people things that people regularly and reliably could do, then they wouldn't be news. It's not newsworthy to just be like, Bill down the street got a job. That's not news. So if it makes the news, I wish people would
yeah.
realize that that shows that it's very abnormal and that it's an accomplishment. And even then, most of the time, it's manual labor. So it's like this person started a landscaping company. This person did this with trade work. If you're physically disabled, then I guess you just perish, is the whole thing there because like you don't have that many options. Um, because almost everything that you can get is labor-based work.
Hmm. So
And
accessibility is one of
yeah,
those things that people take for granted in this journey. And if you are someone who has a physical or not even physical, if you just have a disability, it can make it incredibly difficult for you to be able to access the things you need to move yourself from housing instability.
oh, and particularly the mental side of things is huge too. Like, I mean, I've
Hmm.
got a laundry list there, which makes for a huge amount of issues. You mentioned fatigue. I would say that like fatigue is just a thing, as just a thing. is a huge barrier for me in general. To this day, it's still a huge barrier, where sometimes I fall asleep for 26 hours. Um, like where I'm just that
Mhm.
tired and then I wake up and I can only stay up for 4 hours and then I'm down for another 16. Um, Stuff like that where like you have to figure out what work can I do, what work can actually work with that. And then that's a vanishingly small amount.
Yeah,
Especially when you're barred from doing things that you're still good at, right? Like that you still can be useful in. I'm not even allowed to sell phones. That's like my favorite example. I applied to a place that was a phone store, and because I'd had that car accident, at that time it was like 7 years previously that I'd had that car accident. That was the entirety of my record. Um, and they were so excited about me as an applicant that they invited me to a steak dinner with the owner. Super excited to have me on. And then once and of course I was very forthcoming. I explained what my history was. They already knew it. But once their check came back, official corporate policy that cannot be circumvented even by the store owner stated that they could not hire me. So I did not get hired. Stuff like that. So I was not even allowed to be a salesperson.
that is what, and as you're talking about this, I'm just thinking about Alaska and like seasonal affective disorder. And I don't know about you, but that is something that I struggle with greatly. And so you think about how dark it gets and how long it stays dark, and your body's already like, hey, it's dark, maybe I should go to sleep. And then you add depression and fatigue and inaccessibility on top of that. And I imagine that would make it incredibly hard to be able to bring your full self,
Oh
safe
yeah.
self.
I mean, sometimes it's hard just to drag yourself up to go do that food run, right? Like sometimes you just don't eat for a day because you don't have the energy to go and go across the city and back to get what you
Mhm.
need. Um, Stuff like that is just huge. And especially, like the example that I gave about how long it takes to go get some food. That's a single errand. Imagine, you're trying to go and access services like you're trying to go to the Division of Public Assistance or something because they're making you apply for like the fifth time. And how you're going to get there as well as do something else on the same day. You're not. You're doing one thing that day. It's always one thing per day, pretty much.
As you talk about this and share more of your story, and you're thinking back on what was essentially less than a year ago, what are some things that practical, big or small, that could have made your life so much easier? Like a case manager, rental assistance, mental health supports, transportation. What's just a couple of things that could have changed everything for you?
Oh, goodness. Honestly, well, to take it from the last thing that you mentioned, I think it would be really nice if we would have something like a low income program for our transport system. Um, because, $2 a ride doesn't sound like much until you suddenly have no bucks and you have to get anywhere and there are no sidewalks that you can use. Um, let alone if you're in a wheelchair or need a walker or anything else, then it's really, really bad. Um, I mean, something like even if you're just taking it down to like, oh, we'll still ask for 50 cents or something for a ride, uh,
Mhm.
would still be freaking huge just for the day-to-day cost where you end up shoveling half your money at People Mover and then the rest just goes to, some snack food, some ramen or whatever. Um,
So transportation assistance would have been one thing that could have made
yeah,
this a lot easier,
a
a
lot
lot less
easier.
difficult.
Um, I'd say like comprehensive case management would also be really nice for dealing with
Mhm.
things because I mean, not just the difficulty of getting around, but also all the mental health stuff. It's pretty awkward when you've got traumatic brain injury, ADHD, depression, bipolar, etc., to be managing multiple different doctors and making it to appointments for things and figuring out therapists and all this other, it's like, oh yeah,
Did you say you said ADHD?
yes.
Hey, twin.
Ooh,
Ooh, I know ADHD baddie when I see one. Totally
you can tell from how
understand.
much I'm bouncing around the interview.
Oh my gosh. And one of the things I don't think neurotypical people understands how exhausting that is when you can't get your brain to just be like, just please, I'm begging you, please stop thinking, what happens tomorrow? Tomorrow I'm not going to have anything to eat. And if I don't have anything to eat, I'm not going to have any energy. And then I won't be able to look for a job. Like
Yeah.
that alone would keep me in the bed for a day, for a full afternoon. Just
Oh, and
that
it's
you can't
it's
sleep.
that combined with the fact that like when you know that you have to do something, then you can't do anything else. And so just like the looming requirement to get to appointments or whatever, then suddenly you're just like locked out for a day. Yeah, it's
Yes. that executive dysfunction
Mm.
kicks in, and you need to brush your teeth. I need to brush my teeth, but I and I know for those folks who are listening or watching and they're like, what do you mean you can't brush? You physically cannot make yourself get up to do that one basic thing.
Even
And
though
if
you
you
want to do it.
you
You
want to
fundamentally
do it
you want
so
to do it. You are
badly,
stressing about it. You are freaking out over the fact that you're not doing the thing. But yeah, because I get
yes.
executive dysfunction both from the traumatic brain injury and from ADHD, so it's just a powerful combo right there where
Hmm.
yeah,
And that
if you someone did not have the conditions that I have and they took the medications that I had, the amount of serotonin those medications provide would kill them.
yes.
Because I have that little amount of serotonin that it would be like a lethal amount of serotonin syndrome for someone who didn't have them to take the meds I take.
For those of you who are listening, the neurotypical folks, think of and feel free, Nika, to jump in with this one. You know when you are supposed to get up at 6 and you're laying in bed and you're looking at your clock and you're like, if I go to sleep right now, I'll get 5 hours of sleep. If I go to sleep right now, I'll get 4.5 hours of sleep. Okay. For people with ADHD is if I go to bed right now, I'll get 3 hours and 59 minutes, 3 hours and 58 minutes, 3 hours and 57 minutes. Like it never stops. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. And then you look and the sun is coming up and you're like, I didn't sleep. That is what it is in our heads all the time, especially if you're not medicated. And it sounds like coupling all the other stressors, was it difficult for you to get medicated, like get your meds?
Oh, incredibly difficult. And on top of that, we've got all the medication shortages that have been happening on and off. So suddenly, if your meds are gone for a few months, then you're dealing with medication withdrawal, which is not a fun time. And then you can't get anything done because you're rebounding, right? You have nothing, no function basically for weeks or more while you're waiting for suddenly magically the medication to reappear in state, which is enough for some people to take someone and make them housing insecure because then you could just not be able to work. Um, yeah, access to medication and treatment is huge. My thing is that I always noticed the most when it came to being remedicated again was two things, which is the first is that I could listen to music again and get a feeling from it.
Oh,
Because I would keep listening to music, but I would just endlessly be flicking from song to song to song to song. I would never find anything that even sounded normal or anything like that. Like suddenly it's like, oh right, right. Music activates rewards in the brain. I have reward chemical now. I can feel good about listening to a song now. Or
get that dopamine hit. Yeah.
yeah, because otherwise nothing was working. Like I would numb out as well, so I wouldn't be getting sad either. But like I could take my medication, and then like once I'd leveled out again, it's like okay, so I'm allowed to be sad again if I need to be sad, instead of just being like so busy trying to function that you can't allow, you have no time. You are trying
You
to
have no time for emotions.
no, because you're just too busy. Like at the
Hmm.
simplest of tasks, you basically have to grab your brain by the reins and just be like, no, we're doing
Yeah.
this right now, and just repeating that phrase like every half a second to like just do
Oh,
like I don't know, get out of your chair.
we are so alike. And for those listening who are like, you just said before that you're feeling all these feelings, but also you're not feeling anything. I wish there was a way to explain that. I wish there was a way to put that in terminology that a neurotypical person could understand because you feel so much that you're just numb.
Yeah,
That numbness is depressing because you can't feel anything. So you just feel nothing.
it all
And it's
cancels
because
out.
it all cancels out because your system is just so overwhelmed. It's so overstimulated. I wish I had better language to explain what that is like to a neurotypical person. But I don't. So I encourage you to look up
It's like noise
some
canceling
TikTok
headphones.
videos.
It
Perfect.
takes the sound, it's putting the opposite in, both of them cancel out, you get no noise at all. It's like that, but with feelings. You have too many happening at the same time, and the result is nothing.
Okay. I love that. Noise canceling headphones for emotions.
Yeah.
Oh, if you could sit down with Alaska lawmakers for just 10 minutes, what would you want them to know? Yeah. 10 minutes. That's all you get is 10 minutes. What do you want them to know? You got real excited. You got real excited.
Oh goodness. Oh dear. I mean, there's been a few times I've spoken to Alaska lawmakers for just a few minutes, and I've said
Mhm.
some less than kind things. Um, I haven't been completely nuts, but I've definitely been like, what is going on here? What are you people doing? Why are you letting people die? Kind of thing. Like, this is not the kind of
It's
thing where
a
we
fair
need to be
question.
messing around. We're watching death numbers increase. Every year is a record over the last almost. Our solutions aren't functioning, and we can't continue to call ourselves Alaskans while we are letting our neighbors freeze to death in droves, while we are letting our city rot from the inside out because we're failing to provide any safety net, that we are showing such a callous and horrific, inhumane disregard, I should say, for the existence of people in our community that are in need of help, or that help, uh, which I feel unfortunate. I feel it's unfortunate that I have to add this qualifier, but that help does not mean prison. Jeff, just wanted to be very, very explicit. Because there's some people that seem to think that compassion is policing or prison. Because it's like, oh, we can't let people get away with this, and we get away with what? Not dying.
Have you
What are
seen
people getting away with?
someone who is experiencing housing insecurity were to watch this? What would you want to tell them?
Ugh. I mean, I'm sure people will be. Um, don't give up on it. There's gonna be enough trying to get you dead without you being involved. So don't give up on it.
Okay, okay.
I
Life is
mean,
going to try to kill you. You
yeah.
don't have to do it for life.
hmm
Okay,
I know it's a really grim thing to say, but like,
it's reality.
yeah.
It's real and it's honest and it's appreciated. You're thinking about Alaska in the future, and if you could, what would what does housing look like in the future ideally for you? Like when you think about Alaska moving forward, what are like a couple of key changes?
Oh, I mean, the number one change is I'd like to see Anchorage catch up with basically every other city in the United States of notable rapport and build some freaking projects already. I just want to see some public housing initiatives, um, or the closest thing that we can get to it, because we've got enough lots, we've got more than enough budget. Even if we like to pretend that we don't have enough budget, I know where we send our money. Uh, and we can't really talk about not having any money while we're buying new advanced drone facilities and AI plate trackers for the police department. So, you
Yeah,
know, I don't know about that. I'd
yeah.
like, we can revamp our transportation, but it only needs a little bit to suddenly become something that's incredibly useful. Maybe a couple more stations.
Mm.
But primarily, I would just like to see that either, we maybe we do something like Santa Fe, where they're tying their minimum wage to rent calculation.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Housing security insecurity is complex, it's emotional, it's economic, it's tied to the policies that we create and the communities that we build. And what we heard today is a reminder that this isn't housing insecurity isn't an individual failure. You're not, this isn't you, it is the system working the way it's designed. You cannot, capitalism is not sustainable, especially the way that we engage in capitalism. It's just not. It's about systems that say that they're for the people, but do not work in the people's best interests. Especially in a place as unique and as challenging as Alaska. And if you take one thing away from this conversation, I really hope it's this that people don't need judgment. They need understanding, stability, pathways to housing that are safe and affordable and dignified, right? Like people don't need your
and
pity. What they need are
even
resources.
even if you're not going to give them any of those things, the one thing that you can do that's the least is to look at them like a person. Acknowledge that they're there.
Yeah,
That's a start, as a lot of people don't get that. And
yeah.
people get pretty nutty pretty fast when everyone just pretends that they don't exist.
I can't imagine what that's like to be invisible from that perspective. I can as a black woman in America, I know what it is to be invisible, but hyper visible at the same time, right? Like your backpack no, you can't come in here. But it's also not difficult for me to not make eye contact with you when I tell you you can't come in my store with that backpack. So I'm hyper visible, but I'm also incredibly invisible. Um, so if you are someone who's watching this and you found this episode meaningful, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, start a conversation, ask questions, look for ways to support housing justice within your community. And that's, you could be advocating for policy changes, supporting local organizations, or simply helping out with your unhoused neighbors. And the next video in the series will actually be speaking with a policymaker, subject matter expert to further this conversation. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, Nika. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
doing this with us. We really, really, really appreciate it. Um,
thanks for having me.
yeah, and this was such a pleasure. So thank you so, so much for sharing your story.